Hello, I thought I'd just make another video to follow up on the previous one that I made about this plus configuration quadcopter, because that one came to a rather unceremonious end. The first time I tried to fly it obviously crashed and broke the thing, so I was waiting on parts. But I've managed to get it flying quite well now, and it's much more, the performance is much improved on what we saw last time. It was rather anemic before. But what I've changed since last time is, apart from obviously replacing the cross beam that got broken, I had a suggestion in the comments to check that the ESC was not broken, and I can't remember why I thought the ESC was okay, but obviously it was not okay. So I replaced that, and it's flying quite nicely now. The motor was not to blame. Sorry, motor. I blamed you last time, didn't I? You were okay. And I've also put some FPV gear on, so I've replaced the side beams here with, they were just a flat strip of aluminium before. I made it into an L shape so that I could stick things on the side, so things are a little bit tidier than they were before, although it's all still quite precariously stuck on. Wouldn't last through too many crashes, I don't think. Especially this one here, it's just stuck on with the double-sided foam tape, but I think it makes it look it looks very high-tech, doesn't it? It's quite an attention-getting little thing when I go to the park and somebody who doesn't know anything about quadcopters comes along and says, "Whoa, what is that? Are you a scientist?" But of course I try and downplay it, and I say, yeah, I'm a scientist. I make flying robots, you know. And that kind of thing, but I think it looks really cool. So what else have we got on the camera? Oh yeah, this is the camera here. It's quite a neat little kit. You get this little set of wires there, and little plug, and everything just goes together. The name is not so cool, I don't think. L-Gay. Not so sure if that's the coolest name in the world, but I bought a big pile of stuff in an online auction, and that was part of what I bought, so I'm just trying it out. Works reasonably well. To mount it there, I had a bit of a puzzle with that one, because the camera is like this, and there's no real convenient way to mount it on the back to here. That's what I was trying to mount it to, but I replaced the screws. I drilled this out a little bit and replaced the self-tapping screws that were in here with a longer one that goes all the way through, and then I just cut a couple of little pieces of thin aluminium with some holes and attached it like that, and then I just bent that up to about 25 degrees or so, and it's just clearing the front propeller there. So I think that covers all the changes here. Like I say, it's pretty precariously positioned, but this is mainly just for a prototype, because I was thinking I might make one that uses 2204 motors and thicker beams later on if this idea works out okay. So how did it go with FPV, keeping in mind that we're going to have this in the view? That was one thing I was interested to see how that worked out, and it wasn't really so much of a problem. But anyway, let's look at the footage from outside. Okay, I have to make this quick because my Mobius is playing up and it doesn't seem to record files more than a minute or so long. So we're out at the larger field, and you'll notice that the rear motor is still sort of playing up a little bit. It doesn't start as quick as the other ones, but it seems to fly alright though. And I took the advice of somebody in the comments to stick with the 50-30 props for this, because these motors are a lot more comfortable on 50-30 props, and as you can see the performance is quite a bit better. This is a full throttle here. No trouble at all. And I realize that when it's a little bit overcast like this, that doesn't show up very well in the video, because as soon as it goes in front of the sky you can't see it, so I'll try and do that a little bit more sideways. This is full throttle sideways. Hopefully you could see that. This is full throttle sideways the other way. So that should give you a better idea than going straight up. See if we can do a bit of rate mode. Oh, I think I lost radio contact there. Just sort of stopped. Or maybe I reduced the motors too quickly. The motors stop? I don't know. Either way, that was a bit scary. But I think it's flying well enough that we can try some FPV on this now. And I'm not going to put the Mobius on here because there's nowhere convenient to put it, so I'm just going to record what I see through the FPV camera here, and you'll get an idea of how badly this is obstructing our view. I tried it a little bit already, and to be honest I didn't really notice this being in the way that much. Okay, let me just pause that for a second there. At the bottom of the screen you can see obviously the very top part of the motor, but this is not what I was seeing in my goggles. I only realized after I came home and looked at this DVR footage that the DVR is not really recording things properly. For one thing, it's not really in the middle, and it's also not showing the full extent of what I saw in the goggles. So let's just have a look at on the screen without using the DVR, just looking directly at the screen, what I actually saw in my goggles. So you can see that I can actually see about halfway down the main part of the bell of the motor as well. Still, it's not a big deal, and it certainly didn't get in my way as I was flying. So it wouldn't, having a motor and the props in the front of you like that was just really not an issue at all. This video thing gets really hot. I should mention that if anybody's thinking about getting one of those video things. It gets really hot. This camera is not at all bad for a CMOS camera. I'm assuming that I didn't damage anything by taking the lens off and then putting it back on using those screws that go all the way through. I think it should be fine. It's not as good as the Runcam, but it's better than the smaller CMOS camera, like the little mini one. We have a bit of full throttle here. Zip up there. It's a bit hard to tell without any sound, but it does really accelerate quite quickly. And as you can see, I'm sort of rolling from side to side a little bit because of my rates being up too high. There's a fast forward burst there. But overall it wasn't too bad, and I think if I put a bit more time into tuning it properly and practicing flying with it, then it would be... It's very agile, I'll give it that. But not particularly easy to hover. I think at this point here I tried to hover... oh, maybe not, okay. Somewhere along the line I tried to hover in front of that light on the lamppost there, and it wasn't very easy, and I don't think it was all because of the wind. It was just it was a bit unstable just in general to fly, so I think that could be fixed with some more time spent on tuning. Anyway, I don't think we need to look at a whole lot more of this. I think you probably get the idea. Oh, here's my attempt at hovering. Yes. Nowhere near as easy as with the woody quadcopter that I have. It's much easier to hover. But yep, it goes up nicely. Well, that should give you an idea of what it was like to fly. I could have probably put the Mobius on top here so that we could have some high-def video, but it's just a little bit awkward, and the focus of this video was really more on what is it like to have this motor sticking out in front of you while you're flying. And it wasn't really an issue at all, to be honest. I did have a bit of trouble controlling it, mainly because of the wind, but also because I turned my rates, pitch and roll rates up quite a bit higher than I normally have. So that was mainly the issue there. Apart from that, I think it was fine, fairly uneventful. Just flew like it should, really. So the idea, like I said before, was to use this as a prototype and maybe make a beefier, stronger version of this with 2204 motors later on. However, after having flown about 6 to 8 batteries through this now, and having crashed it a few times, and learned a little bit about what it's like to be using this on a more regular basis, I'm not so sure I'll go ahead with making a plus config copter again. And I'll give you a little hint as to why that might be. This is the front here, right? There's no propeller on the front motor at the moment. That's the hint. Can you figure out why I might not be too excited about having this config? Okay, the answer is, when you crash, you're highly likely to be breaking the propeller on the front motor. When you're flying in an X config, you're sort of roughly 50-50 going to break one of the props on each side, roughly. So over time it evens out that the sets of propellers that you buy, being in 2s and 4s, over time with an X config, when you crash, you'll roughly break an even amount of propellers. But with the plus config, you're always going to be breaking. In this case, for me, it's the this way, whatever that is. Yeah, whatever. So it's always you're breaking the same propeller. So you find that when you go back to your box of propellers to find one to put on after a crash, you're getting less and less of this direction of propeller. So yeah, that's not really the way I like it. I like it when I go back to my box of propellers that sort of there's a roughly even amount of each one in there to put on after a crash. But apart from that, everything works fine. This design is a little bit awkward to stick things onto, as you can see here, but I may just come back to this and try it again with a slightly revised design in the future. You never know. Anyway, thanks for watching.